Okay, so we get a player opening under the gun to 3x, which is pretty standard. And this player had been playing pretty tight, like 14, 11, 3. But in my sample, he'd been opening 24% under the gun. So what that tells me is that he's one of these players who opens looser under the gun because it's going to get more respect given his nitty VPIP and preflop raise. And he opens tighter in middle position in the cutoff to try and get paid more on those opens. So the dynamic that often comes out of that is that people 3-bet under the gun opens, and usually the under the gun player is left to wonder if the 3-better is adjusting to his under the gun raise first, or if he's just 3-betting a very strong hand, as you usually need to 3-bet an under the gun open. So if he doesn't know which one it is, it can make playing queens pretty tough for the under the gun player. And I had noticed this disparity in this player's VPIP PFR and then under the gun raise first, so he's playing a lot looser under the gun than his stats might indicate. And it's definitely possible my sample hadn't converged and he just picked up some hands under the gun or something like that. But I decided to 3-bet in this spot, and one of the other reasons is that I wasn't a regular in the game's 200 NL. I was a regular in 100 NL, and I just moved up. And my screen name's pretty obvious, so I imagine something like 10% of the regs or something like that already knew me the first time they saw me at 200 NL. You know, some people comment like, I like your video, stuff like that. So I would think that if he is one of the like 1 out of 10 regulars who obviously I don't think a fish would recognize my screen name, but if he is one of the like 5 or 10% of the regulars who would recognize my really obvious screen name, he might think that if I'm moving up to 200 NL, I'm going to try and play super solid, which was true for the most part. But, you know, I didn't want to move up and play like a spew monkey. But this hand, notwithstanding, was a bit different. Anyway, so I 3-bet, keeping in mind that I'm going to represent a strong hand. I think I'm going to get a lot of credit and a lot of folds because he has a very wide range and a smaller continuing range. And we flop a pair on a queen-high flush draw board. And the pair is pretty much meaningless to me. I didn't like 3-bet with the intention of checking down middle pair with no kicker and trying to show down. So I continuation bet trying to fold out hopefully 15 ace-king combos. And you might ask yourself, well, Gareth, why are you c-betting just to fold like hands you're ahead of? But c-betting has to be taken in the context of the alternatives, and the alternative is to check back. And often we're going to face a bet on the turn, and that's just going to suck. We're going to be in a terrible spot. So if I think I have a profitable c-bet here by folding out even hands that I beat, I can set up bluffs on later streets to fold out the hands that beat me. And also, you know, I do have a pair, so I do have like 2 to 5 outs versus a lot of his calling range. He check calls, and I think that he can have ace-king of spades here sometimes, and ace-queen of spades, and even king-queen of spades. So I don't think he would check raise. I don't think it's very productive to say he would check raise 100% of the time with those hands or check call 100% of the times. I think he can do both. I also think he can have like 10s through kings here, and he may even have aces some small percentage of the time. Basically, I don't think this player is going to see this as a spot where he should have a lot of a big 4-bet range pre-flop, so I think kings is definitely reasonable hand for him to have to, you know, strengthen his call range, and also he probably might not want to get it in pre-flop because he doesn't know me and we have no history. Anyways, so like I said, he could check call with top set and check raise with top set, as well as those flush draw hands, and I think he check calls with 10s and jacks as well. So on the turn, I definitely fire a spade, an ace, a king, a 7, and an 8, as well as a 5 or a 6. Those are my barrel cards, and the turn is an offsuit jack, so I think that's a pretty bad card. The only real hand I can fold on the turn from him is like 2 10s, but that assumes that he called on the flop with 2 10s, and they called pre-flop with 2 10s. So both those things I think are reasonable, I just think it's like slightly discounted. Meanwhile, him playing jacks this way is very reasonable, so I think he has 2 jacks a lot and queens a lot. And if he did check call with ace-queen and call pre-flop, it's not like he's going to fold to another bet on the turn. And of course, he's not going to fold kings or those flush draws. So I feel like I folded out the ace-kings on the flop, and I'm really only going to fold tens on this turn, so I don't see a lot of value in like continuing to bluff with 5 outs or something like that.